Hey everyone, how's it going today? And welcome back to another third, fourth stimulus check unemployment benefits extension update. So in today's update, I really just want to talk about the $400 unemployment program that some people kind of were wondering about, especially because we are now actually officially, as crazy as it is to think, about 1 week away from when unemployment that was approved in the third stimulus package is essentially about to lapse. Now, I do really want to specify is that this program that we're going to be talking about today, this is an approved program. So this is a program that's actually physically happening right now. Technically, it has actually been happening and it's been approved ever since the second and the third stimulus package. So it's actually been going on for quite a little bit of a while now. The only reason why, if you haven't heard about this program, or if you just have maybe heard about this program but just haven't heard a lot about this program, is really just because of the fact that because this program is technically going on only in very select states, although right now, as of the time that I'm making this video, I believe is that it's going on now, right now officially, in pretty much every single state except Idaho and South Dakota. Just for whatever reason, it's just those are the two states that are not doing it. But essentially every single state, more or less, other than those two, is doing this program. However, only very select states, when I last made this video, probably about several months ago, actually physically opened up applications to be able to get it. So it's that because this is technically a program that kind of varies across state to state, because different states did it differently, different states did their application process a little bit differently, and different states opened up the physical applications from when you can actually physically start this program at a different date. Some have been doing this for the last 6 months, some just opened it last month, but the big idea is that because there's a lot of variation, and because this only applies to very select people, that is probably the reason why you may or may not have necessarily heard about this program. But now that you are in this program, or now that you are in this video, and especially because we are technically 1 week away from the lapse, it means that in most cases, depending on your state, but in most cases, it is not too late yet. So you've come to pretty much the right place if you're just interested in either trying to apply for the program or just simply trying to get information to know even if you even physically qualify for this particular program. Now, in terms of what this program is really about, essentially what it is that it's essentially a way that you can potentially bump your unemployment from $300 into a $400 unemployment. Now, even if you are watching this, because obviously we only have about 1 more week in many states for unemployment, but the big thing about it is that this program is actually very much retroactive ever since the beginning of this year. So if you are able to get onto this program this week, in fact, there are probably going to be many states that may even open up applications even beyond this. All it really means is that it means that when it finally ends at the very end of this week, or depending on the state that you're currently in, it means that you would not be able to get this boost for any future weeks. However, you would be able to get the retroactive payments since the beginning of this year, or since you first got onto unemployment. So that's why it is still something that's very much possibly interesting to potentially look into, even if you are watching this in a week from now or 2 weeks from now, because at the very least you can potentially get it in retro payments. So that is the big thing, and we could be talking about potentially a couple $1,000s, which I think is hopefully going to be a massive big game changer. So we're going to talk all about this program in a little bit, but maybe as always, maybe real fast before we begin, consider smashing the like button, because hopefully we are going to be talking about something that's potentially going to put more money in people's pockets if you are able to get through it. We're going to be talking about the qualifications, how this works, all of the different details, because it's been a while. And as always, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos like this if you guys are interested. And as always, feel free to comment any questions, thoughts, or information about honestly just really anything at all. It's always great to say hi to new and familiar faces, and huge thanks if you guys have been here for a while. So with that being said, let's get this video started right now. So essentially what this program is specifically called is, it's essentially called the MEUC, or otherwise it pretty much just stands for the Mixed Earners Unemployment Compensation. So what this basically does is that if you have been on the unemployment for a while, actually in fact, even if your state actually already ended unemployment by the time that you're watching this video, all of these payments, as mentioned, is that they are retroactive. The only huge caveat and notice is that once unemployment lapses in your particular state, it is is very, very likely that they will start to close out applications. So that is just something that you maybe have to notice, is because it's very possible that maybe unemployment ends September 6th, but they may end up closing it out in the second week of September. They may be closing it in the beginning of October. So the idea is that pretty much every single state has a different end date. But as long as that date has not happened yet, I know as of the time that I'm making this video, New York, their application is still very much open for this. And I only know this because I happen to also be in New York, so I can actually physically follow. We'll talk a little bit about how to physically get on it if you are interested in a little bit. But what this program is basically made is that if you are someone that had two sources of income, or in other words, as the name suggests, you are someone that had more than one particular job over the last year, specifically, especially in 2019, the idea is that it's a way that you can potentially bump your $300 into a $400 unemployment benefits boost. What you essentially have to do is that if you are someone that essentially has two or more sources of income, and even more specifically, say for example, you happen to work for a job and you were collecting W-2 income, but then you also had maybe a side business, so maybe you were also collecting 1099, or you were doing some kind of business that maybe involved collecting cash. The idea is that they used your previous job in order to see how much you physically qualified for when you try to get on to unemployment. But because some people, only part of their income was a part of what they use to physically calculate. So for example, if they use their, the information from their employer to get onto traditional unemployment, but they just happen to have another job, then what this does is that in order to balance that, they would give you an extra $100 on top of the $300, giving you guys essentially a $400 unemployment boost. Now, in terms of the actual physical qualifications of what you need to essentially get onto this program, the big thing is just mentioned is that first is that you have to be from a state that is physically doing this program but still has their applications opened as of the time that I'm making this video, or simply put, just as of the time that you are watching this video. To get more information about whether your state is still doing it, I probably would recommend to just Google up MEUC and then just your state name, or mixed earners and then just your state name. I can say for a fact that as of the time that I'm making this video, New York is very much doing this, and I only say this just because I'm from New York, so it's a little bit biased, but I know is that there are a lot of states that are doing this program, specifically 40 something states. So it is very, very probable that your state is probably doing this also if you happen to be watching this. Second is that if your state is doing this, you're also going to likely need your tax document, or simply just put something to essentially prove the fact that you had two different jobs, or that you drew income from two different places during your last tax season. So very, very likely your tax document is probably the most perfect proof for this. But there's other kinds of requirements which maybe we'll talk about in a little bit. But the idea is that if you can find some way to prove it, that's pretty much what you're going to need. And then the third requirement really is that you're going to have to be someone that has actually specifically now made $5,000 or more in net income from that particular second job that you're going to be using to apply for this. And if all of these requirements are met, then the really, really great news is that it means that you should be qualified, or at the very least, could potentially at least look into information in trying to apply for it. Now, in terms of how to actually physically apply for this program, is the best way to really find information in your particular state is to probably, just as mentioned, is to just simply Google up MEUC and then insert your state name. So MEUC California, MEUC Florida, it just really depends on where you live, or mixed earners and then your state. So mixed earners Texas, mixed earners Pennsylvania, mixed earners California. But also, in order to get onto this program, actually, a lot of states actually have opened up their applications in the portal that you normally use to log in every single week to certify or claim your unemployment. So I know for a fact, for example, in New York, this is the specific page looks like on the New York, and the only reason I have access to this is just because I happen to be from New York, so it's a lot easier for me to just log into my own personal account and just show you guys what it physically looks like. Although there's a lot of variation and it should be relatively similar in a lot of the other states as well. But essentially in one of the tabs in the portal that you use, the same one that you use to claim your unemployment every single week, there should be a tab on the side that's going to link you to a bunch of forms, documents, or applications. What you are going to be looking for is the link to submit an application for something, as the name suggests, called the Mixed Earners Unemployment Compensation. When you click on that link, it should open up a page, and inside of that page, that's going to essentially be where it'll list out what you're required, what you need to submit, and then through that, if you follow that application, you should potentially be able to essentially get on it, or at least attempt to get on it. Of course, we have to see what they say, but that's at least something that's potentially worth a chance at taking. What's great about this application is that in most states, it actually should not be a very long application. I believe is that in most cases, it should not take over an hour. If anything, I actually really think that in most states, it probably shouldn't even take more than 30 minutes. Probably the hardest part about filing or applying for it is really just about trying to get copies of your actual documents to submit. But if you already, let's say, have everything neatly on filed inside of a folder, you have everything organized inside of your house, then in reality, it really should not take more than 30 minutes to even try to apply for it. All it is really is that they just want you to fill out some basic information about your just situation, so your financial situation, which should take probably about 10 to 15 minutes, and then really to just upload your documents and then submit, and then it should hopefully potentially now go through, and at that point it's really just about waiting. So hopefully that gives a relatively big picture to how this program works. I just really want to come out to kind of talk about this because especially with unemployment now ending very, very much soon, it does mean is that many states are likely going to potentially now start to close out applications. So if you are watching this on release date, or even if you're watching this after release date, it's very, very possible that your state still has applications open and they may still potentially be open to accepting applications. So it may be a potential chance to try to apply while it's still happening, if it's hopefully still happening in your particular state. Of course, because you know, the information scatters around from so many different states, it's hard to kind of gauge, but that's why I kind of highly recommend just checking your unemployment portal, and it should have information about whether or not your state is still very much trying to do this program, even if it means, as mentioned, through a retroactive payment. So even if you apply afterwards when it ends, it is possible that you can still get retro payments that can potentially add up to, if anything, again, several thousands of dollars back even later on, if you're able to get on it. So hopefully if you guys found that relatively insightful, consider smashing the like button, consider subscribing and hitting the bell for similar videos like this, and huge thanks if you guys have been here for a while. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well. Definitely consider, because the time is getting really, really tight, but hopefully if you're watching this on release date, there is still time. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.